The steel-grey hulls of Chinese Coast Guard vessels cut through the waves, flags snapping in the wind. Their presence is a constant reminder of Beijing's growing assertiveness, a show of force that signals to the world that these waters are under watchful eyes. The ships move with purpose, their crews alert, scanning the horizon for any sign of challenge or resistance. Each vessel is a floating outpost, a symbol of China's determination to stake its claim in the contested South China Sea. On the horizon, Filipino fishing boats bob precariously, manned by weathered faces etched with generations of maritime tradition. These fishermen, descendants of those who have sailed these waters for centuries, now find themselves on the front lines of a geopolitical struggle. Their livelihoods depend on the sea, yet every journey is shadowed by uncertainty and risk. The waves that once promised abundance now carry the threat of confrontation as foreign vessels loom ever closer. Overhead, the unmistakable silhouette of a US Navy destroyer slices through the clouds, a symbol of power projected across the vast expanse of the South China Sea. Its presence is both reassurance and warning, a message that the world is watching and that the balance of power here is anything but settled. The destroyer's wake ripples across the water, a reminder that global interests converge in these contested seas. The stage is set, the tension is palpable. Every maneuver, every radio transmission, every glance exchanged between crews carries the weight of history and the possibility of escalation. The air is thick with anticipation, as if the sea itself is holding its breath, waiting for the next move in a high-stakes game. What China once thought was weak is now its biggest nightmare. The tables have turned, and the old assumptions no longer hold. Chinese officials, once confident in their dominance, now watch with growing concern as the balance of power shifts before their eyes. The Philippines, long viewed as a pliant neighbor in Southeast Asia, has emerged as a formidable obstacle to China's expansionist ambitions. With a renewed sense of purpose, the Philippine Navy and Coast Guard now patrol their waters with vigilance, their presence a clear signal that they will not be intimidated. The nation's resolve is backed by new alliances and a growing sense of unity among its people. No longer content with being bullied in its own waters, the Philippine nation has found its voice and its resolve. From the bustling streets of Manila to the remote fishing villages along the coast, a spirit of defiance has taken root. Protesters wave their flags with pride, while Coast Guard crews stand ready, determined to defend their sovereignty at all costs. The question echoes across the region and beyond. How did the Philippines become a major thorn in China's plans? As the world watches, the answer unfolds in the courage of its people, the strength of its alliances, and the unyielding will to protect what is theirs. The gathering storm is no longer just about territory. It's about identity, dignity, and the future of an entire region. The answer lies in a confluence of factors, both internal and external, that have coalesced to transform the Philippines' strategic posture. Years of relentless Chinese encroachment into Philippine waters, marked by harassment of fishermen and disregard for international law, have ignited a firestorm of national indignation. The election of President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. in 2022 proved to be a watershed moment. Eschewing the appeasement policies of his predecessor Marcos Jr., has adopted a resolute stance against Chinese aggression, vowing to defend Philippine sovereignty to the very last inch of our territory. Crucially, the Philippines has found itself bolstered by a growing chorus of international support. In recent years, as tensions in the South China Sea have escalated, the country has not stood alone. Instead, it has become the focal point of a broader coalition of nations determined to uphold the rule of law and maintain stability in the region. This coalition is not just symbolic. It represents a tangible commitment to collective security and shared values. The United States, bound by a decades-old mutual defense treaty, has reiterated its ironclad commitment to defending the Philippines against any armed attack. American officials have made it clear that any aggression in the South China Sea would trigger a response, sending a strong message to potential adversaries. Joint military exercises, increased naval patrols, and high-level diplomatic visits have all underscored the seriousness of this alliance. Japan and Australia, key US allies in the region, have also voiced their unwavering backing for the Philippines' maritime claims and expressed deep concerns over China's destabilizing actions. Both countries have stepped up their cooperation with Manila, participating in joint maritime patrols and trilateral dialogues. Their support is not only diplomatic but increasingly practical, as they provide training, equipment and intelligence sharing to strengthen the Philippines' maritime capabilities. Even the European Union, geographically distant but increasingly wary of China's global ambitions, has thrown its weight behind the Philippines. The EU has emphasized the importance of freedom of navigation and the need to respect international law, particularly the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. European leaders have engaged in dialogue with their Philippine counterparts, offering diplomatic and economic support. In a landmark resolution, the European Parliament condemned China's illegal activities in the South China Sea and called for a peaceful resolution to the disputes in accordance with international law. This move signaled a growing international consensus that the status quo cannot be allowed to persist. As the Philippines navigates these turbulent waters, it does so with the backing of a diverse and determined coalition, united by a shared vision for peace, stability and respect for the rule of law. This international support has manifested itself in tangible military cooperation. The annual Balikatan exercises, a cornerstone of the US-Philippines alliance, have grown in scale and complexity, involving thousands of troops engaging in live-fire drills and maritime security operations. Beyond Balikatan, the Philippines has conducted joint patrols and exercises with the US Navy and Coast Guard, sending a clear message of deterrence to Beijing. Adding to China's woes, the Philippines has also engaged in trilateral exercises with Japan and the US, further deepening security ties and enhancing interoperability among like-minded nations. These exercises, once unthinkable in the annals of regional diplomacy, underscore the rapidly shifting geopolitical landscape and the growing resolve to counter Chinese assertiveness. But it's not just military might that has China worried. The Philippines has also been, quite successful in mobilizing international public opinion against China's actions. World leaders, from United States President Joe Biden to Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, have publicly affirmed the Philippines' rights in the West Philippine Sea, which is the portion of the South China Sea within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone. The Philippines' legal victory at the Permanent Court of Arbitration in 2016, which invalidated China's expansive 9-line claim over the South China Sea, continues to resonate powerfully, serving as a legal and moral cudgel against China's revisionism. Within the Philippines, the government has taken concrete steps to strengthen its defense capabilities. The Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement with the United States has paved the way for the establishment of new military bases and the prepositioning of US military equipment, really bolstering the Philippines' ability to respond to threats. Moreover, the Marcos Jr. administration has embarked on a modernization program for the armed forces of the Philippines, acquiring new ships, aircraft and weapons systems to enhance its maritime domain awareness and territorial defense capabilities. Yet perhaps the most inspiring aspect of the Philippines' defiance is, honestly, the courage displayed by ordinary Filipinos. Fishermen, despite facing harassment and intimidation from Chinese vessels, have continued to venture out to sea, determined to exercise their sovereign rights. Their bravery, captured in numerous photos and videos that have gone viral worldwide, has galvanized international attention and exposed the human cost of China's actions. They are the David to China's Goliath, and their resilience really embodies the spirit of a nation unwilling to bow to coercion. These developments have not gone unnoticed in Beijing. China's leaders, long accustomed to having their way in the region, are now confronted with a Philippines that is more confident, more internationally connected, and more determined to defend its interests. The Philippines' growing military cooperation with the United States and its allies raises the specter of encirclement, a nightmare scenario for China's strategic planners. Moreover, the Philippines' vocal stance against China has spurred other Southeast Asian nations to take a more assertive stance in defending their own maritime claims. The Association of Southeast Asian Nations, often criticized for its toothless diplomacy, has shown signs of pushing back against Chinese pressure, albeit cautiously.